Hello, Rory Dowse here from Cano Piano, and today we're going to look at the first movement of Beethoven's Moonlight Sonata.
Cano Piano, cultivate, create, communicate.
So we've got the first movement of Beethoven's Moonlight Sonata, Opus 27, number 2, and it goes a little something like this. So, Beethoven didn't actually call this piece the Moonlight Sonata. It was a name that came about later on. But you can see why the name stuck, because you get that glossy kind of feel throughout the piece, as though, you got like moonlight shining on like a lake or something like that. So in terms of that glossy feel, how do we actually get that? Well, there's a little bit of a clue at the start here. We get a lot of performance directions at the start of this piece. It's a little unusual. We get this performance direction in Italian that says, want us to play this piece with the utmost delicacy, basically as delicately as possible and without dampers. Well, what does that mean? Well, it basically means that you want to, play as delicately as possible. That's pretty straightforward, I guess, but play without dampers kind of suggests that you want to hold the pedal down throughout the piece so the dampers aren't actually coming up and down. Now, for those of you who don't know what the dampers are, I'm referring here to the sustain pedal, the right pedal. And when you play that, what happens is inside the piano, as I press the pedal, these little dampers come up so the strings are free to resonate. So when you hear a piano without the pedal down, there's no dampers to stop the sound. But as soon as I let go of the pedal, the dampers come and touch the keys and mute the sound. Well, Beethoven's looking for quite a specific effect here. He says no dampers, so you want to just leave the pedal on. And that sounds a little something like this. Which you can hear is probably a little bit too blurry. And the reason is that we're on a modern piano that's a little bit, it's a lot bigger and a lot weightier in tone than the pianos of Beethoven's day. The pianos then would have had the sound kind of disappear a little bit quickly. If you ever get the opportunity to play a forte piano, if you're like, I don't know, visiting a university or something like that, it's a great thing to do just to get that sense for how the instruments then would have responded. And here there's a big cast iron frame. In the historic instruments, the ones that Beethoven would have played, it's just a wooden frame, so it's entirely different sound. So we can see that doesn't really work that well on a modern piano. Now, a lot of people just get over that by just changing the pedal every time the chord changes. And it's a bit of a compromise, because you can hear there was something quite beautiful and serene about that sort of, that held pedal, like a fog over the lake or something with moonlight. That's sort of imagery that comes to mind. A beautiful effect, but we kind of lose that here because it gets too blurry. And yet then when we, pedal every single change of chord, and it sounds really clear. It's not as kind of foggy anymore. So what can you do about that? Well, a lot of people just change every chord. Some people like to experiment a little bit by saying, well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold down, I think I've got a bit of a sticky key in this G sharp, which is just arisen. I'm going to depress the pedal just a little bit. And I can maybe clear it in certain places. mentioned here or there that I'm still getting that resonant effect, the foggy effect. I'm achieving that by just depressing the pedal, like quarter pedaling basically. Not full pedaling, not all the way down, not half pedaling, quarter pedaling. And then what I'm doing is when it comes to certain significant structural parts, like when the melody comes in, like the start of a new phrase, then I'm changing the pedal. And so I'm kind of getting a compromise, sort of some clarity, but also some haste. And to be honest, that's about as good as it gets on the modern piano, which kind of, again, it's still a bit of a compromise, isn't it? So I think that's why a lot of people just like to change every chord, and that's what I'm going to do now on in this video. But I just want to mention that because, it is a really interesting effect and something that I think you could really experiment with. If you can pull it off, as written, like I mentioned, in that way, it'll be amazing. But if you don't pull it off, or you're a little bit shaky, and you're still kind of developing your technique, then it might come across as though you're still learning how to pedal. So I'd say it's like kind of wearing like a like a crazy shirt or something like that. It's like, hey, if you're going to go for it, you need to go for it. You need to pull it off and just believe in it. Same thing here. From now on, I'm going to pedal just every change of chord for that clarity. So we can see here that we're in Adagio, Sostenuto. So slow and sustained, that makes sense. We're in the key of C sharp minor. Again, if you're not entirely familiar with that, quite an advanced scale. I'd recommend that you spend some time in C sharp minor, just getting used to its chords. This is basically just broken chords throughout the whole piece with some slow moving melody. Again, Beethoven was a great improviser. And so what we have here is this improvised piece. It says Sonata quasi una fantasia, which basically means, it's a sonata. It's got 3 movements. The last one was extraordinary, by the way. That's the goodness. Oh, here it is. Anyway, it's been many years since I played that one. It's absolutely extraordinary. Really, really famous. So we've got the Moonlight here. We've got the Sunlight middle sonata. It's really cheery and it's very stormy at the end. So it's a sonata, but a quasi una fantasia. It's a little bit like a fantasy. It's very improvised. And we know from accounts at the time that Beethoven was probably one of the best, if not the best improviser of his day. So, we want to make this sound as though you've just kind of sat down at the piano and it's just free-flowing from you. That's, I think, when you've really got this piece down. So we can also see here another performance direction on top of the ones we've already got, which is sempre pianissimo e senza sordini. So very